Michaela, thank you for coming back here with us. We appreciate you making the trip back to the station. We have some exciting new research opportunities, right, coming up over a variety of animals. Let's start with the first one. Let's start with the bat research you guys are doing. Just give us an overview about it. What's going on?
Okay, so it is kind of a repeat of what we did last year, plus a little bit. Last year's project, we were just monitoring a maternity roost up in Harriman State Park, and then a few other locations about like 15 miles apart, up from starting at Harriman all the way down to Madison Middle School. So this year, we do it through the Idaho Falls Zoo. And so we're working with the Idaho Falls Zoo and with Harriman State Park. So it's a little bit based off of year by year what the rangers and the zoo are interested in looking into. So this year they were still especially interested in monitoring the maternity roost, but they were also interested in seeing if we could find some species that we didn't really find many of last year. So we're going to choose a few random locations to monitor. We are still working with the Madison School District just to do some education outreach with their students. This year we're going to be at the junior high school instead of the middle school, though. There is a PhD student from BYU. He graduated from here before going on to get his master's and working on his doctorate. He is studying the St. Anthony Evening Primrose out at the sand dunes. And we will be putting bat detectors out there as well.
I guess, how do you guys, with the Idaho Falls Zoo, how do you guys determine, I guess, maybe the approach that you're going to take in research? You know, like, because you mentioned that you guys have done it in the past, right? So how do you guys differ that to maybe get the results that you're looking for year to year, especially, you know, from last year to this year?
So a lot of the research, especially from the Idaho Falls Zoo, so the way their program works is every time you go to the zoo, it's called Coins for Conservation. I believe it's like 50 cents goes into global or local conservation. So they'll either send it off to a national park in another country to aid in their funding, or they fund local conservation and research. So they partner a lot with BYU-Idaho and Idaho State University to do that research. So since it's a little more conservation geared, they like to focus on species that are of greatest conservation concern or of greatest information need. So either species that we know are declining in Idaho or that we don't know a whole lot about. So for example, there is a master's student at ISU that he, through the zoo, studies moose and spadefoot toads, because those are ones the moose we know are declining, and the toads we don't know a lot about. So that's kind of the difference there. With the bats, we have enough data on the bats to know that potentially 8, but right now for sure 7 species of bat in Idaho are declining. So that the zoo wants to focus on those bats and where they're roosting or where they're migrating through. And that's why Harriman State Park is a really good connection that they work with, is because Harriman has had bats for 100+ years.
Wow.
And they will return to the same roost every year. So from the standpoint of the zoo, that's a really good one just to monitor and make sure that we're not chasing out the population or anything like that. And then as far as just random locations, like last year, we found a lot of Yuma myotis. So that is one of the bats we have in the area. We have a lot of myotis. So there's the Yuma myotis and Myotis lucificus, and those two.
Some crazy names.
Yeah, they have some fun names. More common would just be like little brown bat.
Okay, so those are like the scientific terms kind of thing.
Yeah, there's some where it's like the Yuma.
Okay.
They don't necessarily have a super common name. I feel like everybody always just lumps them into one because there's no way to tell them apart visually with the Yuma and the lucificus because they're identical, but not genetically identical. But we can also tell them apart by their calls. So that one gets a little interesting. They even share the maternity roost. So that's why we found so many of our myotis last year is because of that roost. We were like, they are for sure here. We got hundreds and hundreds of calls. You can go up there and just see them flying around. So we know for sure where those ones are. But then we got a lot fewer calls from, for instance, our hoary bats or our silver-haired bat. We got very, very few calls from them. So that's where both the rangers at Harriman and the people over at the zoo were thinking maybe we should try experimenting a little more, see where these bats are. We also know that those ones are tree roosting bats. So it could be that it could be a little bit of competition with the bats that there are hundreds of flying around.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going to try and see if we can find where the ones we only got maybe 20 calls max from hoary bats last year. So we're going to see if we can up that.
Yeah, sweet. And so you mentioned also that you said 7 of the species are declining right now. That's 7 out of how many species total in Idaho?
So there are 14 species of bat.
Wow,
so
half.
It's half of our bats here in Idaho.
Wow. Okay. So I guess I know you've already touched on this, a lot, but if you had to, sum up the purpose, the goal of this research into just like a single sentence, kind of like a main mission statement, I guess, what would you say that is?
That's a good question. I would say it's probably something along the lines of not just learning about the bats and conserving their populations, but teaching people and proving and showing everyone why they're important.
What benefits do bats provide for the state, for the community, for the environment, that kind of thing?
So they actually save millions, if not billions of dollars in pest control every year, which is especially important with somewhere that's a lot more agricultural based like Idaho. They take care of a lot of either pests or just keeping the insect population in check so that, there aren't as many mosquitoes.
Oh, we like that.
They're very nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you also mentioned that this project gives students, in the school district the opportunity to be involved in the research, right?
Yeah.
What kind of opportunities are there for the students?
So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. For instance, just 2 weeks ago, we deployed our acoustic detectors. So those, we find our locations we want to put them on, usually trees that they're mounted on. And it is up to students to do some of the maintenance, making sure that the equipment is functional throughout the season, because if we miss even a night of data, then it can have a huge impact on the study. So we make sure the equipment's functional, which means about every 2 weeks or so going and taking care of batteries, the cards, just making sure everything is working. There is a camera we put in the maternity roost so that we can hopefully see what predators are depending on the roost. Hopefully nothing that isn't native. We did run into that last year, some dogs going in there and stuff that could be eating bats. There are thousands of photos for students to filter because it takes pictures every 15 minutes and whenever there's motion. That's a lot of pictures.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So that's where I would say the majority of my crew usually is going through all of those pictures. One that we have added on for this year. So in Idaho, there's a bat working group that just is in charge of keeping track of all of the bats in Idaho, especially those 7 species. And they want us to do a bat bridge survey. So last year they found a lot of the bats. A lot of their old buildings they used to roost in are being torn down, and they've kind of shifted to using bridges. And so this year I'm going to have a lot of people I have either go out with me or on their own, and we just find bridges all over southern, eastern, southeastern Idaho area. And we have a website that they have us log all of the data into. So we'll just be going checking all of the bridges and seeing if bats are there. And if we can identify what kind of bats, then even better.
When did this whole research project start? And how long is it projected to go for? Do you have those kind of estimated dates or so?
Our professor, Brother Whiting, he has specialized in researching bats for a lot of his career. So it's something that he's always encouraged students to work on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been something that's been going on for a few years. He has one student that really started it, who Jessica Call. She graduated and is now working for Fish and Game. And then when she graduated, he had a couple other students. One was Bethany West, who also graduated a few years ago and now works for the Idaho Falls Zoo, which is awesome. So we work with her a lot.
Got some good connections.
Yeah. And now then it went to another student, Ellie Simmons, who she graduated last semester.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She graduated last semester. Now it's just been passed on to me, and hopefully we'll just keep passing it on.
Michaela Gila book.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll pass it on year to year.
Yeah.
Or whenever I'm graduated, I'll have someone else that I can hand all of the years of data off to.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. When did it resume, I guess, then, this year? Like, when did you guys pick it back up, and how long do you guys expect it to go through this year?
So that one is really dependent on the weather. Because a lot of the bats are either migratory or they hibernate. Whenever the weather's right, they'll start showing back up. This year is really weird, especially compared to last year. Because last year, the winter lasted a normal amount of time. It was a pretty standard year. This year, it warmed up fast. And so in about February, actually, I sat down with Brother Whiting and we were talking about how it's starting to get a little warm. And the bats will start flying out of their hibernaculums once it's 40 degrees. That's the temperature at which they can fly. So once it started to hit that 40-degree mark here in Rexburg, we were like, we better start planning for when that starts happening up in Harriman. So 2 weeks ago is when it officially started.
Okay.
The actual date I have written down, March 7th, we deployed the detectors, and then we checked them on the 21st, so this last weekend.
Yeah.
And when we deployed the detectors, it was about 30 degrees up in Harriman, so we were like, perfect, we're going to catch them coming in.
Yeah.
And then we did our maintenance, took the cards, and luckily saw we had about 80 files of data to go through.
Yeah. And those is the detectors, is that things you were talking about with the motion sensing? Like they take the pictures, is that what you're talking about, or is this different?
So this one is different. The motion sensing camera goes in the roost, and we're not going to set that one until we know we have a decent amount of bats in.
Yeah, okay, I see.
These ones are acoustic monitors. So you just put them up on a tree. It almost looks like a camera. The middle schoolers sure had fun with that one. We set it a little too close to arm's reach over at the middle school last year. It definitely looks like a camera, but it's actually a microphone sticking out that just records all of the sound, and it'll make recordings within a set frequency that we give it. So the frequency we're looking for isn't... Humans can't hear the frequency that bats make most of their calls at. You'll hear little chirping noises and certain noises like that we can hear, but when they're actually flying and making their echolocation calls to try and catch food or just see where they're going, those we can't hear. So these detectors pick that up and give us a good idea of what species are hanging out in the area. And especially based off of call volume, we can get a general idea of just how many are hanging out in that area. So we ran those through our software that we use. It's called Kaleidoscope. And it identifies the calls based off of the frequency, because every species of bat lets off a different frequency for their echolocation. And, that's how we can tell the difference between our Myotis species.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have no idea just looking at them. So we ran them through Kaleidoscope yesterday, actually, and it is confirmed we have at least a couple Yuma Myotis that have moved in for the season up at Harriman.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, we've caught them coming in for the year, which we haven't done before, so we're very excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, sweet. Anything that I might have missed that you wanted to mention about the bat research, anything like that?
One thing I probably should plug a little bit. So with the bat research, one thing that, again, my volunteers help me with is we do bat nights once a month during the summer. We have one that we do at the Idaho Falls Zoo, and then another one we do at Harriman State Park. So it'll happen usually within the same week. We'll have one earlier in the week, one later in the week at those two different locations. And I would say that's probably the most valuable part of this research, especially for students, is being able to go and interpret the data that we have and show it to the public.
Yeah,
and
share it.
Yeah, because a lot of the public doesn't even realize we have bats in the area.
Good point. Yeah.
And the ones that do, it's usually, the bats roost up in my cabin and I have to clean their guano out every year. So it's a good way for us to be able to teach them, these are the bats we have in the area. These ones are in need of more conservation, more concern by humans. This is how we affect the bats. And it's just, and then, why they're beneficial, why we need the bats to stay. So those nights are great. They're so fun. There are activities that we do at each one. And then after we do a little presentation where you hear from us, students who are researching, then you hear from Brother Whiting, just a general all about bats. Then we, at the Idaho Falls Zoo, take people on a tour through the zoo to go look for bats, which is always so much fun. And then at Harriman State Park, you don't necessarily have to go and look for the bats because you just step outside of the cabins at the right time, and it's like you're in a snow globe of bats.
Wow, that's crazy.
So both of them are a lot of fun, and it's really fun to see, just even adults learning more and getting excited about it, but especially the kids that get really excited about it.
That's cool. Yeah, and do you know when those bat nights are? Are they coming up? Are there specific dates set for those yet?
So I have the dates for the Idaho Falls Zoo ones.
Okay,
the
cool.
Harriman State Park Rangers are going to be sending some dates in the next couple days.
Sweet.
So we'll have that all worked out.
Yeah. So do you know the ones for the Idaho Falls Zoo already?
Yeah, I have all those. So these are the dates for this year. We have June 17th, and then we also have July 15th, August 12th, and September 9th.
Awesome. So those are all for the Idaho Falls Zoo.
Yeah.
And then the Harriman ones will be the same weeks.
It will be within the same
different
week,
days.
just different days.
Yeah. Okay.
So it'll be a lot of fun. They're all awesome.
Yeah.
Both are really good. The Idaho Falls Zoo, you have to buy a ticket just because space fills up really fast. We always sell out and have a huge crowd. Harriman is just open, whoever wants to go.
Sweet. And where can people purchase those tickets?
On the Idaho Falls Zoo's website. So they'll set those up, and then every month they'll sell the tickets for the next bat night.
Okay. Sweet. That sounds perfect.